So what exactly do we want to call this? Do we want to call it being ignored, being snubbed, being ostracized, being shunned? I think it kind of all points to the same thing, but we're going to focus on the word ostracized. And this is a tool that narcissists will sometimes use, a lot of times use. In fact, I would go so far to say is just expect it. If you are dealing with a covert narcissist, maybe even an overt narcissist, and they want to get the better of you, they're going to try to, at some point, ostracize you. I say that not because I'm a clinician and I've done research in a university, but because I'm nearly 70 years old and I have life experience. I call it life's laboratory, and I've gone through this. So I am speaking from the vantage point of life experience and the study that I've done on top of that. And what I found is that ostracism is very real. So let's talk about what it is. This we get from dictionary.apa.org or apa.org, American Psychological Association. They have for us this convenient definition. And they say this: ostracism is an extreme form of rejection in which one is excluded and ignored in the presence of others. Have you ever had a narcissist intentionally ignore you in the presence of others and get others to ignore you as well? Let's go on. Ostracism has powerful negative effects on psychological well-being and is detrimental to multiple domains of self-functioning. Okay, so you've been ostracized by a narcissist. And so you go to the authorities and you say, hey, this guy abused me. You say, what did he do? Well, nothing. Did he hit you? No. Did he pull a knife on you, slash you or something? No, didn't do that. Punch you in the nose? No. Break your arms? No. Well, what did he do? I didn't do anything. They just ignored me. And if you go to the police with that, you know what they're going to say? Yeah, get out of the office here. What's wrong with you anyhow? But what they don't understand is the bruising is very real. How do we know that? Well, we know it because psychologists have taken people, put them in, what do you call it, an MRI or whatever, and they did brain scans. Why the person was believing they were being ostracized. And they took a look at the brain. And what they found is the area of the brain that responds to pain responded the same way when they were ostracized. And it works something like this. You know, they put the guy in the MRI or whatever it was, brain scanning, paraphernalia, and when the person was their brain was being scanned, they were playing a virtual game of, toss the ball back and forth with, I think, 2 other people. But then the 2 other people left them out. They were passing the ball back and forth and just left them out of it. And when that happened, the person, they felt pain because they felt they were being left out. They felt they were being ostracized. Narcissists will do this to you, knowing that you were hurting. They are intentionally trying to hurt you. Now, the interesting thing about this virtual game is there were no 2 other people. It was just a pre-programmed computer. And the person thought they were playing with 2 other people, but they weren't. They were playing with nobody. But still, the fact that they thought they were being ostracized and left out caused them to feel pain. This is what we read from psychology. Actually, it's research.net.com, and their section on psychology said this: the same region of the brain that detects physical pain, the dorsal, anterior, cingulate cortex, is similarly activated during a brief episode of minimal ostracism in which individuals believe others are not including them in a virtual ball toss game. So just briefly being ostracized, briefly being snubbed or shunned or ignored is enough to cause pain, as if somebody punched you in the nose, I guess. All right, well, how do they do this? How is it that narcissists, and maybe others, will inflict this pain on you? And I'm thinking, if it's the same as physical pain, would it also lead possibly to post-traumatic stress syndrome? And I think so. I can't prove it. That's just my thought. I'm just kind of guessing here, but why would it not? Okay, let's talk about how it's done. Have you ever been with a group of people and somebody is talking about you, not behind your back, but right in front of you, to another person, saying something critical or negative, as if you were not there, but they know you're there, and they're saying it intentionally, willfully, knowingly that they're inflicting pain on you. They're just being jerks. They're being narcissistic. That's one way they do it. Another way they do it, sometimes you may have been sitting with a group of people. Some guy to the right, some guy to the left, and the guy to the right is talking to the guy to the left, and the guy to the left is talking to the guy to the right, and you are kind of in the way. You know, they're just ignoring you. Now, I got to tell you, when that happens to me, usually it's my fault because I'm just not a social person. I'm not a conversationalist. You know, I've got Asperger's syndrome, and socializing is not my strongest suit. So, you know, I understand it. I don't get all upset, but still, it happens. So the narcissist will intentionally try to get other people to ostracize you, to shun you, and sometimes religious communities, cults that are or are not religious. If you don't march to their drum, you're ostracized. We see this a lot in political ideology, social ideology. If you don't go along with the group, you're out. And sometimes people will go along with the group to avoid being ostracized for professional reasons. Last thing you want to do is be left out of what everyone else is doing because, well, you're kind of relying on the social infrastructure just to make a living. Depends on what occupation you're involved in. Okay, so why do other people do it? Number one is, I think the number one reason, this is my opinion, life experience, you know, the number one is social posturing, which is something I just totally don't get, but I know that everyone else does it. But social posturing is anytime you're in a group of people, there seems to be competition to be the alpha person, the alpha male, the alpha female. You want to be the person that is most respected, that is most liked, that gets along with everyone else. And I don't think people even consciously do this. Well, some of them do. But most people, I think it's just natural. And you can often tell when you walk into a room of people whether or not they accept you. I once read a woman who said, you know, I can walk into a group of women and I can tell instantly who likes me and who doesn't just by the way they react to me. Well, the narcissist will do that. They will social posture and they want to kick you down the social ladder, particularly if they have you in their sights. If they already have you in their web, they're going to make sure that you have this codependency going on where they are dependent upon you for supply, and for that to happen, they have to be in control of you, social posturing. Something else is just reaction. You know, now, if you have autism, Asperger's syndrome, which I do, by the way, a lot of times we find ourselves in a position where what psychologists call selective mutism. It's not that you don't want to talk to people, you don't want to be friendly with people, but you just can't. You know, it's just not there. It's not part of your neurological makeup. You're not wired to do that. People take that wrong, and they think that you are being aloof, that you are ostracizing them, and okay, we'll ostracize you. That is why people with Asperger's syndrome have such a difficult time keeping work, holding down a job. Even though they do the job very well, they can't socialize. So sometimes people will ostracize you, not because they're narcissists, not because they don't like you, but because they misread you as being unfriendly. And if you have Asperger's syndrome or autistic, there's not a whole lot you can do about it, because that is the way that you're hardwired. Again, they call that selective mutism. But in this case, we're talking about where it's just a narcissist who is being abusive because he or she can be abusive, because that's a way of getting supply from you. What is supply? Supply we define as anything that boosts the narcissist ego. They use you for supply. How do they do that? Well, they ostracize you, they shun you, they ignore you, they minimize you, they put you down, they isolate you, and that makes them feel in control. Well, sometimes they actually are in control because they get away with it. All right, so what do we do with this? Well, first of all, we understand that we typically will typically respond with self-blame, because we'll wonder, what did I do to offend this person, or why is this person or these people, if it's a group, why are they being mean to me, why are they excluding me? Is it the way I look? Is it my religion? Is it my race? Is it my political views? Is it, am I dressed funny? Do I have body odor? Why are these people doing this? So we tend to internalize. The first reaction is to ask ourselves, what's wrong with me? Because if everybody's doing it, the whole group is doing it. We don't know necessarily that the narcissist is behind it and is maneuvering others to exclude us. We may not realize that. So we start blaming ourselves, self-introspection, and then, okay, now how am I going to cope with this? So we try to fit in. We may try to accept it. That is, if we don't know this is the doings of a narcissist behind the scene, a covert narcissist. And oftentimes that will trigger the reaction in us where we get a little bit out of shape. We get upset. Everybody's ignoring me. I don't like this. And what does the narcissist do? Points the finger at you and say, this guy is a problem. This guy has a temper problem or whatever. And what happens then? Well, more ostracization. They say, yeah, we can see that. That's one of the reasons you want to get away from a narcissist, because they play these games constantly. That's all they do. And then often we will just resign ourselves to the fact that we're being ostracized, and that leads to avoidance, which sometimes is a good thing. Now, psychologists say that, avoidance is a bad thing because we are social creatures, but sometimes socializing is not uplifting. Sometimes it is damaging. When there is a covert narcissist involved, there is a point in time, I believe, I'm not a professional, don't pretend to be. This is all based on life experience, my life's laboratory, so to speak. But just a need to avoid these people talking about narcissists. Once you understand this is a covert narcissist, or even an overt narcissist, or a narcissist of any kind who wants to control you, to take supply out of you, to boost his or her ego, my experience, based upon what I've seen in my nearly 7 years, is the best thing to do is just get away from these people. They love to fight. No point fighting with them. They just boost their ego even more. You're just feeding them. Why do that? Get away from them. No need to pay them back. They've been abusing people their entire lives. They've got a lot of people paying them back. That part of it's already covered. You don't need to dirty your hands doing that. Just get away from them. There are 2 rectangles on the screen. Let's keep talking if you want. All you got to do is click one of those 2 rectangles and our conversation together will continue. But if not, well, thanks for stopping by and see y'all next time.